All right, sports fans, welcome to Coach One Sports. Yours truly, Coach Kevin Bull Jones, back. Happy holidays. Happy holidays. We're getting festive in the back behind me. I didn't do any of it. My wife did. I mean, and my kids. I can't even brag on myself. She got it done. But anyway, happy holidays. Welcome to Coach One Sports. Brought some friends back in with me to talk some of the latest things going on in college football. Of course, Deion Sanders is filling the airways, social media, everything, as well as anything that involves sports and football. He's on it, even on some talk shows, and also the Final Four that made it to the college football playoffs. So, without further ado, if you enjoy the show, make sure you make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you comment, but more importantly, make sure you hit that button and join and subscribe. And I want to welcome to the show. I got two brothers from another mother, and they both here. We hadn't chatted in a while, but the man, the myth, the legend, the first one, Jonathan Lewis, is in the house.
How's it going? Another day, another dollar.
That's what you say, sports fans, when you the big guy on the block.
No.
That's how you say it. and my other brother from another mother, he looks like me when he doesn't wear all that hair on his face. But Coach Craig Chapman from Pike County High School, football coach, baseball coach, basketball coach. You say it here in Metro Atlanta area. He's done it all. Chat, welcome back to the show, baby. Good to see you. Good to see you back, Craig.
Hold on one second.
Oh, Craig has to.
He's being summoned.
Yes, he's summoned, and he has to answer the summon because
I gotta go turn the air conditioner off. Hold on. Sorry.
That's awesome.
hey, the real coach in the house called. All right, so hey, listen, let's jump right in. Let's jump in and swim with it. Also, sports fans will have some other folks coming in. Oh, there he is coming back. Yeah, that's right. Now you can see how fast Craig can really move.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, man, the boss called, had to get it worked.
Oh, no doubt. No, don't. I'm talking trash, but I'm really just talking trash because I didn't get a call.
Yep.
Hey, I'm just standing in my lane. I'm talking trash, okay? Because when I got to go, I move. It's just a blur across the screen. But hey, glad to have you back, chat.
Somebody told me one time.
No, I'm glad to have you back. I know you're middle of your basketball season, man. And go ahead, repeat that. What you was gonna say?
I was like, somebody told me one time it is what it is.
Hey, man, I still got that shirt. I still got it. I wear it. Yeah. Jonathan, he's alluding to I coach wrestling and at Lovejoy High School. That shirt said it is what it is, and that's really all that it is. Yeah, it is what it is. So it is what it is. Let's talk about what everybody's been talking about. All right. Woo. All right, here we go. Everybody's had a shot at this. Everybody has an angle, a point of view.
Oh, God.
Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, leaving Jackson State University, HBCU, currently 11-0 or 12-0 maybe at this time, and SWAC champions, about to play in the Celebration Bowl. I think he's only lost 3 games since he's been the head coach there. He's passed 3 seasons at Jackson State, and now he's moved on to the University of Colorado. He is a Colorado Buffalo. Hey guys, I'm gonna open up the floor. We're gonna get the butter from the duck on you guys' viewpoint. Hey, Jonathan, let's start with you and then Craig.
Oh man, you had to start with me on this one. So
did he make the decision?
Did he make the right decision? Yes, he did. For his career, for his family, in my opinion, he did make the right decision. But I have to come from 2 points of views on this. I can't come from one. Because he opened himself up for both points, not just for one point of view. And by that, I mean he applied for the Florida State job before he went to Jackson State. And then when he didn't get the job at Florida State, he took the Jackson State job and then talked about how he always wanted to come to the HBCU and help them gain the limelight. That's a great statement to make if you wouldn't have applied for the Florida State job first. and then say that this was your intention the entire time to be at HBCU, right? So we all know people are going to bring that up. But at the same time, did Deion hold true to his word? I can't think of a coach that brought more limelight to the HBCU than Deion did, right? That brought their very first, 5-star, best recruiting class in history. Like, you know what I mean? Game day, came to Jackson State. He brought everything with it. And the next question is going to be, well, if he did all that and he left to Colorado, but he stripped the players, right, and the coaching staff of Jackson State, does that really help out Jackson State and HBCU? I don't know. I'm not an administrator. I don't know how all that works. As a fan's point of view, I have to say that, look, Coach Prime is going to look out for himself and his family. And I understand he's looking out for the players. He's going to look out for the coaches, because his number one thing from the very beginning was, I want to get my coaches paid. My assistants need to be paid just like I get paid. So you can't stay at Jackson State and expect that to happen, right? So you have to move up. It's kind of like he said, you either move up or you get fired. You can't stay stagnant. That just doesn't exist.
Right. Alleviate or terminate.
Alleviate or terminate. Exactly. So I understand that point of view. Now,
Greg, we should have learned that a long time ago. I'm sorry, Jonathan. I had to get
you're good. So, but my second thing I have a problem with is what he said during the team meeting. And look, it's not the thing where I have luggage and I'm bringing it with me and it's Louis. I understand that. I have a problem when he said, I already have positions filled, so you might want to check out the transfer portal. And he openly admitted he didn't evaluate the team yet. So you openly say that I haven't looked at this team or what they're capable of. And I get it. They're 1-11. They're a terrible team, whatever. But that doesn't mean you don't have a good player somewhere. And you just should already know that, okay, my son's going to automatically be at quarterback. I mean, did we forget about nepotism? Does that not exist anymore? Right. So is that not in the NCAA anymore? It does exist. I get it. Jackson, Hunter, and all these 5-stars, they will most likely start. Those positions are probably filled. But I felt like it can be taken negatively the way he came about this. Right. So, but at the same time, I get it. So it's like both sides. He's got to lay the law down. He's got to let these guys know, I'm not here to screw around. You were 1-11. You sucked. So I got to make changes. But I felt like he just came in and went full negative, like just battered them down. And maybe that's a plan to get rid of the 50% of the team that doesn't want to be there. But, man, to come in and talk about how you guys probably don't have positions here on this team, I'm bringing other guys with me, you got to deal with them. You know what I mean? Like, it almost creates a division with the players that are going to stay there with the players he's bringing along with him. That's my long point of view from it.
Wow, I want to, Craig, before I flip it over to you. Okay, so I have two sides. I have the coach side of it, and I have the fan side of it. This is Coach One Sports, so I'm gonna drop one little nugget that I'm gonna wait till after Craig finishes, but I'm gonna leave this little nugget in saying what he said in front of those kids is, to be quite frank with you, and Craig, you know this, we've coached together and we've had kids that are disgruntled where they're playing when new coaches come in and they're going to run them off. And they have a horrific way of running them off by saying and abusing them emotionally and mentally and not as much physically, but, they just the mental, emotional game that these coaches, when they come in new places, and what they do to players that are already there. So with that being said, I, as a coach, understand. I agree with what he said, only because that's really what's said behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Deion just did it in front of everybody. But in every scenario, those coaches look at who they want to keep and who they don't want to keep. And when you're 1-11 or whatever they were, it's not hard. It's almost like, okay, why do I need to keep you? Keeping you might, you part of the losing that's been here, and you might be good, but you still part of 1-11 record. So why keep you? So that's the coach part of me. But I'm gonna leave the rest to my turn. But Craig, you go ahead. Jack.
Well, I mean, looking at this from a perspective of coaching, just solely coaching. He didn't take a job that was already well established. He went to a place where they were in dire need of a change, and a change from everything. Like I believe that when Jeff Collins came to Georgia Tech, he called it a rebranding. Well, if anybody needs a rebranding, Colorado needs a rebranding. And what better person to rebrand it than Deion Sanders? Now you can get through the whole purpose of, how did he handle the initial team meeting, and what about, telling kids that he's bringing his luggage and he's got
what kind of luggage was
and all that stuff. Well,
Louis.
when you take a job, and you've done this before, Coach Jones, and I've done it before, you got to go in and change the culture immediately, because that's the only way things get fixed. So, whether it was a bad look, a good look, or a realistic look, everybody's going to have their opinions. And one person that does not care about their opinions is Deion Sanders, right? Because Deion has been Deion everywhere he's been. He was Deion at Florida State. He was Deion at 49ers, Ravens. I mean, if you look at what Deion is, he is Deion. So from my perspective, I think Deion is betting on himself and his personality and charisma to be able to take, what he did in his career and bring it to Colorado, because he believes that his name and his ambiance will be enough to recruit. And then he's going to surround himself with people that know how to coach. You understand that? I mean, he's already shown he's going to do that. So he's not going to be out there, just seeing if he can buy time. He's going to try to win and prove to everybody that he can do this. And then how long does he stay? Is he at Colorado so he can get to Florida State? You know what I'm saying? Is he at Colorado so he can get another high profile job somewhere else, maybe say in the state of Florida? So, I mean, that was just my thought process when I saw it. Yeah, he's going to do everything he can to win big, and win big fast. And that's going to be that's his modus operandi. He's not going out there to say, I'm going to do this, but it's going to take 5, 6, 8, 10 years. He's wanting to do it in 2 years.
And of course, with the going to a 12-team playoff in the near future, all those things align. So it's funny you guys mention that, because okay, so here's my spill. The fan part of me gets why folks back at Jackson State University are upset. They're upset because he gave them the sales pitch, and it did sound like I'm going to be here for life. But here's some really important parts of when all of this was going on, and it just all the stars aligned for Deion on this. And I could tell just in that whole sales pitch when he took the job, and the HBCU football has been good for a very long time. I mean, let's just keep it real. Yeah. It's still good. Now, is it as good as it was back in the 70s and the mid 80s? Maybe not as many players on one team, but with the proudness now of transfer portal, some of those kids are able to go from HBCU to Power 5 to Group 5 now. So, things are starting to level off. But I think what happened was all the pain we went through with all of the things that happened back 3 years ago, and we all know everything, all our world was turned around, America's turned around on racial injustice and all of that stuff. So he rode in on something that was soothing. So it really came at the right time.
Yeah.
But I agree with both of you gentlemen that he never planned to be there forever. I know where he went to go get his degrees because his feelings were hurt when he was told, he couldn't be a coach at Florida State because, quote, he didn't have a bachelor's degree.
They mocked him.
Yeah,
I think that's why he won't go back.
Yeah, they shamed him. They hurt his feelings, and I would be mad too. So I'm not picking on him. I applaud him for the steadfast of it. But as a fan, I could see where the folks of Jackson, Mississippi, and I've been through Jackson, Mississippi, and that's about, I've heard stories of how it's still 20, 30 years behind on so many things. So he went to a tough area, and people are looking for hope, and he was the hope, and he rolled in at the right time, and they felt good. But the fan part of it, I mean, the coach part of it, who the heck turns down $5 million?
Yeah.
I'm not turning down $5 million. I'm not turning down a better situation for me and my family. I'm not doing that. I mean, I just it will hurt that if you don't do it, because then the big Power 5 teams can say, well, we offered a job to an African American, he didn't take it.
Yep.
That, so and the real truth of it is that they could say that if he didn't take it, but he's done well. But the fact that all the money that he spent of his money, I mean, that part right there, that tells a lot. So I say to both of you all, I see why they're mad, but I'm mad that they're mad. When I say they, I mean the people in Mississippi, the people, the Jackson State University fan, and then for those that watch it from Jackson State, oh, well, I'm going to call it like I see it. I'm from HBCU. I'm from Norfolk State University. Okay, so I get it, but listen, you're right. He put a lot of people in some stands, and he made a lot of money for Jackson State that now we're hearing about that. Something, all the stuff is coming out now. So your thoughts on that, both of you guys, on why do you think, why is it, or should I say, is it fair to say that this is all about Deion as opposed to anything? Is it all about Deion? I want to know you guys' thoughts on that.
You want me to go first, Craig?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So here's what
go ahead.
Here's what I personally think. And this is like a deep thought here. I believe Deion knows he needs to make it about himself and fall on the sword of people blaming him for that, knowing that that's what it's going to take to bring the attention he needs to get the money, to get the NIL money, right? To get the players, to get people's attention. So he's going to take advantage of, I'm Deion on prime time. I'll be flashy when I'm recruiting. I'll wear my necklace, my rings when I'm going into recruiting houses, right, to see these players, to impress the parents. When it comes to coaching, the rings come off, right? The watches come off. He suits up. It's professional. So I feel like he's going to be prime time when he needs to be, and he's going to fall on the sword and just take the punches that are going to come at him with people saying he's flashy, it's about him. But he knows at the same time, if it's not about him, he's not going to garner the attention that's needed to make the huge improvements, like Craig said, and like you said, to get where they need to be.
Right. Good point. Good point. And I also think, to add to what you said, he does not mind being that light in the room.
Exactly.
That's all. Even when he came to us here in Atlanta, he came with all the change, and I just remember vividly. And Craig, you know where I'm about to go. The whole thing with Tim McCarver and how he doused him with the water. Tim McCarver is giving him hell about playing in the football game, baseball game the same day. And players today would handle Tim McCarver a different way, probably more violently, probably more explicitly, verbally abusive to him. Deion just ran up behind him and threw some water on him. Now, I mean, so, he is a light, whether the three of us get it, but there are a lot of people watching this show that don't get it. They don't get it. They see the flash and they think it's flash and he's a hell of an athlete and that's all he is. Evidently, he is a bigger light than that, and he's figured out how to market all this. So, Chapman, your thoughts on that? Is it all about Deion? Oh, excuse me, Coach Prime.
If you would have asked me that when I was, younger and he was playing ball, I would have said, yeah, it's all about, Coach Prime. It's all about Sanders. That's all what he did when he was at resources there to help.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You don't just do that, because you're making it about you. You do that because you want the entire program to be successful. And he's gonna get all back from this. He was there. He got everybody excited. Everybody loved him. And, and then he left. But that's like that for every football coach in America that's successful and leave. It's not just for one person. It's not just for Deion, but it might be elevated on Deion because of his, platform, what he, how outgoing he is. Everybody knows who he is. You know what I'm saying? This is a topic of discussion everywhere.
Yes.
And so, when he leaves Colorado, there'll be people mad in Boulder, Colorado.
Yep.
And when he goes to his next job, there'll be people mad that he left that job to go coach in the NFL. So himself, but I think how it is. There are people that have a persona that everybody gravitates towards. And that's the way he is. Everybody wants to be him when he's playing because he's that guy. He is that. And he's been that guy everywhere he's been.
That hasn't changed. I tell you one thing that one thing, and I think people don't, the whole part with his leg, when he had those toes cut off, and then he turned around, and y'all remember, guys, he tried to still go through the season or get back to the season. He came back too early, and that's when the infection hit his leg. They almost had to take his leg off. Yeah, wow, that's just deja vu for me. Deja vu for me, excuse me, because trying to deal with ailments during the season as head coach and physical ailments, that is. And that's the part that as a coach, that the fans don't see. The fans don't see the pain, and that's the whole reason why I wanted to start Coach One Sports, just to alleviate on that part. They don't see the pain. They don't see the hurt. They don't see the ridicule. They don't see what the children go through, even though his sons are on the team with him. They don't see that part of the destruction that's going on behind the scenes. But yet and still, the next coach at Jackson State has a plethora of things that he has access to that Deion has given him, is not either physically giving it to him or there's a blueprint.
Yeah.
Y'all share with me y'all thoughts on that, because nobody's talking about that. I've heard a couple of shows where they talked about it, but
no, and I agree. I ask one simple question to people because, like I said, I look at it from both points of view. I can only look at it from a fan and not ever being a coach. But, it's a very simple question to ask when I ask one thing. Did he leave Jackson State better than he found it? That's all everybody wants to know. And absolutely he did. I think we can all agree on that.
I think that it just gets to the point where we, and I'm speaking to it from a, HBCU grad and proud graduate of Norfolk State University. And I just think that we get to the point, when I say we, I say people of color watching this whole show go on. Everybody's got opinions that I think are not really, you don't know the whole story. And it is a business. So keep it a business. And Jackson State has profited well from this business. So why aren't we hearing about that? Now we're hearing about some problems that, according to reports, there was a deal in place where Deion would get 30%, or suggested gross at the gate after a certain number of tickets were sold. And now we're finding, much like so many universities, let me put it like that, now we're seeing some improprieties and nobody knows where the money is.
Yep.
Well, how about that reason when Deion was on 60 Minutes and the reporter asked him, are you looking at some other job? He said he would definitely look at some other job. Well, it seems to me Deion's one of them type, well, look, I'm not going to keep wrestling with you. We had a deal in place. You said yes, I said yes, and then you reneged on your part. So I have coworkers at work right now that are from Jackson State University. And they are so upset because they feel like Deion has left those boys hanging. And I can't ride with them. Craig, I can't ride with them. I can't ride with my coworkers on that. I really can't, because there are a lot of those kids that are going to Colorado if they aren't already there.
Yep.
So I can't ride with them. So, but it just gets to the point where how do you it's business. It's not personal. It's business.
Yep.
But I don't know if you got a chance to see it, Jonathan, but they had another clip, a video through his production stuff where he was in there with the rooms, and it says the video you didn't see with the kids when he spoke to those kids. And to watch those students, those players talk about how much they appreciate him, the managers, the trainers, coaches, players, black and white, everybody in that room talking about how much they appreciated him. It made me feel good, because those are the things you're not going to normally hear about.
Well, I mean, you understand it from a fan's perspective. Anytime you have someone that's successful, and as successful as he was in a short amount of time, you don't want that person to leave. And that's just, that's the way it always is. As a fan, when you're looking at it, you're thinking, who replaces this person now? All right. We had, in every fan's mind, we had the best we were ever going to get. And now we're back at the point zero. We got to start all over again. And with Coach Prime going to Colorado and bringing some of his players with him, there are always going to be people that say, look at who you left behind. All right. And that's just human nature.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on his what are your thoughts on why he went to Colorado of all schools? I think that's another thing that's popped up. So Craig, I'll start with you, then first with you, then Jonathan.
All right. So when you've been as successful as he has, what's the next thing to do? You take a school that has had prior success, that has had prior championship success, and has fallen on hard times. What does it do for your resume when you go there and you build it back up? You always hear the phrase, leave it better than you found it.
Right.
So if he goes to Colorado and they're 1-11 as they currently sit, and he leaves them as, Pac-12 champions, all right, or if they do get into the new 12-team playoffs, then he's accomplished what he wanted to accomplish.
Right.
All right. And then, and we've said it, as coaches, you got to be where your feet are at the time.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you don't always have people in your ear telling you about where you can go.
Yeah. Wow. That's very profound. Wow. Yeah. That's a whole nother show. Your thoughts, Jonathan? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to, I think it's very simple. Like you said, he's going to go somewhere where he could, in my opinion, make the biggest impact, right? Like you said, they've won a championship in the 90s. I mean, it wasn't like it was in the 50s, right? It was just 2 decades ago where they won a national, or a little bit over 2 decades ago where they won a national championship. So we know it's possible. In my opinion, too, Boulder, Colorado is not like going to, we'll say, Lincoln, Nebraska, right? So, Boulder is actually pretty nice, right? So there's nice houses, there's nice neighborhoods there. Like, Deion can bring his family and give them something, in my opinion, that wasn't at Jackson, Mississippi, right? So that's a nice area to live in while they're there. And you look, he even mentioned it in his team meeting. He's like, there's not much crime, if any, here, right? So it's a nice place. People, like you said, they have super nice facilities. His previous players that are going to be coming with him didn't have that before. His assistants never saw this. His assistants never saw the money that they're about to get paid. Right. So, and then if you could build this up to, in my opinion, 1-11, if you just leave them 8-4, 9-3 on a consistent basis, I mean, I don't know how much more you can ask of them, to be honest with you. And another thing too is I feel like it's put so much on the coaches about not leaving or leaving that, isn't it, and this is me literally asking you guys, I don't know, isn't it on the athletic director to be prepared to replace these guys knowing that, hey, they could leave anytime anyways?
Go ahead, Craig. I'll let you get that one.
First of all, let's clarify. Colorado shared a national championship.
Oh,
Shared.
here we go. Yeah, you're technically right.
Who they shared with?
That would be the Georgia Institute
Yes.
of Technology.
Yes. I mean, I had a feeling that was going to get brought up between one of the two of you, but okay.
Let's be honest. Neither one of those two teams should have been in that position because Miami was the best team in the country.
Yes.
I think they lost to BYU in game 1 that year. And that way, and then they had the Cotton Bowl debacle where they destroyed Texas.
Yeah.
And I think they had a whole 30 for 30 about that one game. Yep. So, but, when you look at it from this perspective, didn't they create the transfer portal to combat the coaches leaving so that players could leave and have the same freedom coaches have? And now everybody in the country hates the transfer portal. You see it on social media every day. All right. So nobody's happy with anything. If a coach leaves, nobody's happy. If a player leaves, nobody's happy. All right. So there's that. And then, you talked about, moving jobs and athletic directors. I was told that an athletic director should always have a list of 5 people that they want to replace their head coach, because you never know when a situation like this is going to arise.
All right. So there you go.
There you go. You hit it right on the nose. I didn't have to say, I mean, you laid it right out there. That's what it is. He should be ready, and deservingly so. I hope that whoever replaces Coach Prime, I hope the fans treat him better than they've treated Coach Prime. Because, see, now you're starting to desecrate the image of Jackson State University football and the fans, the fans rather, not the football, but the fans. When whoever's going to be the next coach or candidates are looking at all this that's going on with Coach Prime, and they're saying, hell, I don't want to go over there then, because they're going to treat me the same way, if not worse, and that's the crazy part about it. I'm going to take this. I've seen how they treated Coach Prime. And if I'm not mistaken, fellas, they've only lost 3 games in 3 years, correct?
Yes.
So won 20-something games, 27 or 25. I don't know the number, but I mean, so how in the world are you stepping on him? But you got a nice field. You got inside facilities that look well. Don't know if they still have any running water properly in Mississippi yet. I mean, those are things also, health hazards, and that maybe they don't have anything to do with Jackson State University, but it certainly has to do with Deion and his family there. People forget he has kids there, so, he has a daughter on the basketball team. So he's bought in when you bring your family into your work environment, man. And Craig, you know where I'm going with this, because the undercoach, head coach Al Hughes, we had a loving environment at Lovejoy. So this is to see this where people are, you bring your kids and heck, they might be in danger, and if I'm not mistaken, I've heard reports that he left Shiloh back. Shiloh did not come with him to the press conference because he was upset. He did not agree with his dad leaving to go. And Shiloh transferred from University of South Carolina to Jackson State. And I don't know if he has the ability to transfer again. If he does, he's going to have to sit out. I don't think
out a year.
Yeah, and the way his daddy works, who knows he's gonna be there. I mean, he flips that thing in 1 year. Who knows what might happen?
Yep.
So it's almost like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. But the part I want to get to now, let's talk about the coaches. Let's hit these coaches that are going to be. He's bringing in some heavy hitters, and we talked about this off air. And Jonathan, you hit it right on the nose about Charles Kelly, and boy, he took a very good coach from University of Alabama. And, oh, man, I had to take a deep breath on that one because you know how I feel about Roll Tide. But he took a good coach, and I couldn't even talk about the other coaches that are going on the staff. So I'm gonna let you alleviate to it, Jonathan, because he took Coach Kelly, who's my guy.
Well, I mean, I'll start off with just saying this, and I'll let Craig talk, and I'll bring up literally the list of coaches he's bringing with him. I felt like he was always going to bring somebody from Nick Saban's staff. Number one, Nick Saban and him have always had that, it seemed to me as a fan, a relationship. Whether or not they kind of got into it on the offseason between the Jimbo thing, and Deion was the first one to kind of not peel back, but kind of say, hey, we're good. You know what I mean? Me and Saban's good. Nothing really came out of this. But those two seem to have some type of connection going on. And it seems to me, and this is my point of view, I don't know, maybe it's true, maybe not, whatever, I don't care, that Saban is almost, I'm not saying he's mentoring Deion, but I'm saying in alluding to, hey, guiding him a little bit. And I feel like taking Charles Kelly was one of those steps. Charles Kelly's been there for 4 years, right? He's seen a winning program at the highest level, right? So, and I'm not saying HBCU isn't a high program. I'm saying that I'm sure you guys could agree, I'm sure I'm right on this, that it would be different running an organization at the HBCU level than it would be at Colorado, right? How things are ran, the staff adjustments, the size of the staff, everything else. Then Charles Kelly really has been behind the scenes with Saban for how long? You know what I mean? So he can kind of alleviate a little bit of that gap adjustment that's going to be happening there. But I do like, I'll get into it in a minute, the previous Kent State head coach you brought over and stuff like that in a minute. But I'll let Craig touch up on the whole Charles Kelly thing. Because, like I said, I'm not too familiar with how this stuff works as a fan, but you guys can kind of fill in the gaps with the coaching perspective.
Well, Charles Kelly's been a successful coach everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
And that's why Bull likes him so much. But he was at Florida State. He was at Georgia Tech. And I know just the limit of my knowledge of where he was at. But he filled in at Georgia Tech and did an admirable job when he was there. Then he went to Florida State, and he did a good job at Florida State. And now he's been with Saban. So it's not like the guy can't coach. I mean, you just don't get to coach at Alabama. That's not one of those programs where they say, well, we'll bring you in for a little while and see how it works out. He's been there for a while now. You know, they've had some issues on defense, and I'm sure people would say, you know, if you're an Alabama fan, you say, well, then, you know, they're taking this guy, and we haven't been good in that area. But there are so many things that happen, you know, behind the scenes where, you know, and you see it every time when the lights come on and you put on the uniforms, sometimes what happens in practice doesn't always carry over perfectly to the field. But, you know, from my perspective on this is why I don't think this is all about Deion, because Deion, Coach Prime, has hired high-level coaches, and he hired high-level coaches at Jackson State, and he's going to do the same thing at Colorado, and he's going to put people in positions to coach, and he's going to let them coach, because that way he can be Coach Prime.
Yep. Correct. I think that's a great point. I think a great point in that if you watch how he is stockpiling these coaches, the move to the NFL is not far-fetched at all. It depends on how much he wins at Colorado. The move to leave Colorado and go to, I think we all can agree, if Florida State, FSU ever comes available, now FSU will have to listen. But it's going to cost them a whole lot of money now, because you heard the feeling.
He might make when he played there.
Yeah, you say it again?
I said he might make more now than when he played there.
It was hey, listen, he didn't have to worry about a McDonald's bag.
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh. The bag, man.
But what I'm saying is he is stockpiling, and a thing that I cherish the most out of watching his staff, Coach, when he was at the private school, and he was the offensive coordinator for the private school his son played at, and the head coach of that team, when Deion went to Jackson State, he took that coach with him. That coach ended up being I think his last name is Hart, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yep.
But the loyalty and the generosity and the respect you have for Coach Hart, that's nothing but love. I know a lot of high school coaches that can coach on the collegiate level if they're given a chance. I know a lot of them. Okay, and I dare to say it's a slim pickings of those that I don't think that can do it. They could walk in and coach just as well as a coach who's been coaching on the collegiate level less than 10 years because of the experience on the high school level and everything inclusive. So for Coach Hart to be there, I think is wonderful. It says a lot about Deion. And for me as a coach, I respect that. Okay. That means the world to me. David Kelly, a great comrade and high school coach, state championship coach at Dunwoody High School back in, I think, 1994, maybe won a state championship. And he's on that staff. And David Kelly was who some of us, he won a state championship, and then the next year he went to Georgia, and he's never gone back to high school ball. But he was one of those coaches who took the elevator to the collegiate level, and now he has had over a 30-year gig on that level coaching, and he's amazing. And for Deion to keep him on that staff is wonderful. Those things mean a lot to me because you're talking about men with families. Yeah. And to watch Deion and all of his wealth, to be able to flash it, and his coaches and their families can't get fed, man, they got to get fed because you're only as good as your coaches, your assistant coaches. So I really have a lot of respect. And with that being said, Jonathan, read that list.
So I know I was kind of crazy earlier talking about how the whole Saban thing. So I got my head wrapped right. So I was kind of like all over the place. What I meant by that was, what has Saban always done? Like, Saban will never be known, in my opinion. People won't look at Saban as a fan and go, well, he was the greatest X and O's guy. No, he's the guy that surrounds himself with the greatest minds at what they do. It doesn't mean they have to be successful previous head coaches. He just knows that you're really good at this, and I could use that, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Charles Kelly, like Craig said, he's won everywhere he's been. Look at who he's bringing in, Sean Lewis, right? So one of the greatest offensive minds. No, he wasn't the greatest head coach at Kent State, but that's not what we're worried about. We're worried about him being an offense coordinator. Willie Taggart wasn't the greatest head coach, but he's joining this staff at being one of the best of what he did, right? So he's bringing in guys that, number one, lack where he doesn't, and that's experience as a coach. When you can bring in these type of guys that will fill in the gap of you not having the head coaching experience, especially at this high of a program, and I'm not saying Colorado is the top of the top, but I'm saying like that gap, in my opinion, these guys can kind of help fill that gap. You know what I mean? So that's where I was kind of trying to allude to that. And Willie Taggart, in my opinion, was a big one. But going through the list here, and not all of them's been confirmed. Obviously, Sean Lewis, like I said, offense coordinator. I got them all pulled up here. Vincent Dancy, so role to be determined. We know he's going there from Mississippi Valley State, right? So Tim Brewster for the tight ends. Andre Hart, linebackers, they said most likely. Charles Kelly, defense coordinator. Bill O'Boyle, offensive line. I mean, like I said, Willie Taggart is most likely going to end up there. They already said it. The role has not been determined for him yet, but the fact that, and that's the majority of them that's been kind of confirmed, put in place, that you can bring those guys in, like, that's already mind-blowing to me. To Colorado, I mean, look at the previous staff, in my opinion, compared to this staff.
So do they keep Darren Higgins? Does he stay on staff? I've been told by my sources is he will never leave. He is considered legacy at
Buffalo,
like Cordell Stewart.
Yes,
he'll always be there. He cannot leave there.
He won't leave because it's already. Look, Prime came in and gave the impression that the whole staff is gone. When he showed up, he said, "I'm not keeping nobody." But the great thing is, during that team meeting, he did say this: "Look, I'm going to keep some people." And I think that alludes to, and that was when he had the conversation with the boosters the previous day. So I feel like that talk was like, hey, we get you want to get rid of everybody, maybe, but that's kind of not the right thing to say, because there are guys here that need to be here, even if they need to play a smaller role, in my opinion.
You know, I mean, and I think he can handle that. I think he
Yeah.
can handle still being a part of that that picture of Colorado football, and he can do that. And I think it's wonderful that you hit something right there, Jonathan. There's a part of Deion that has so much admiration for Nick Saban that it kind of looks like, now that you mention it, that he is pulling in guys who have not been quote, the top of the food chain where they were in as a head coach. I can tell you right now, Willie Taggart is by far one of the best recruiters ever.
Yes.
Ever.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's bringing in people that can do their job at the highest level. It doesn't have to be the head coach, but my God, it's like saying Steve Sarkisian's not a good offense coordinator because he can't be a good head coach. It makes no sense.
Right. So that leads me to my next point, and then after this, we're going to move forward to talk about this Final Four deal. So with Prime leaving, and they have to replace the coach, Coach Prime leaving. What do you think is the over-under of how many kids from Jackson State end up at Colorado? I will start the number at 25. Tell me, over or under? Because I think a lot of kids are going to leave.
Craig, you can start this one.
25.
Yeah.
So when you travel, you can only take 70, right? 70,
Yes.
75.
Right.
So you're saying that a third of that team would be made up of transfers from Jackson State with 25. I'm going to go with under that.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, before you give me that answer, count the ones that were committed to Jackson State and now have decommitted to Jackson State. And some of them now are going to.
And that would be the thing. They weren't actually on the roster.
Okay.
Yeah.
In their recruitment. So that would be, that would seem to me, as dirty as this is going to sound, that would seem to me to be fair game. If I was recruiting you and then I left, if I wanted you to play for me at one place, then it would seem to be that I want you to play for me at somewhere else. Correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good
so
point.
Yeah, it could very well get to over 25 in that manner.
Yes.
Because he already said he had brought 10.
Right. Already.
And then there were
not counting the Louis bag.
Yeah. There were unconfirmed reports that he had affected by 100 players.
Yeah.
Through the portal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know how right that is, but you know what? With someone with his cachet, I could see that.
Correct. And he also hinted that he wasn't as fond of the collectives, and that kind of gave me a hint. That gave me a buzz to how much influence the collectives do have, a la Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M, how much weight they pull, because it sounded like some collective folks are nudging at Deion, and Deion didn't like the way that felt. That's what it sounded like to me. He wasn't as fond. For you to open your mouth to say you're not as fond of where the collective stuff is, and you have to have more dialogue about it. That lets me know they stepped on his pinky toe. And they got their own Louis bag, or theirs might be Gucci. I don't know. So what's your thought, Jonathan?
Well, if we're talking about what's on roster, he already said 10 plus 1, right? 10 plus his son as the quarterback. So yeah, I'm gonna have to say definitely under 25. Now, I think there's an interesting dynamic to this as well, because I feel like not enough people are paying attention to this either. The commitments that committed to Deion while he was at Jackson State has to rethink the level of competition, because a 4-star going, in my opinion, to Jackson State is different than a 4-star going to Colorado, because I feel like maybe you have more interest in higher level recruits at Colorado than you would maybe at Jackson State, right? So I feel like he has access to more. It opened up the can of, well, maybe I can get – I mean, you look at Reuben Owens, who decommitted from Louisville. You look at Trey Sanders, who's tweeting at Deion saying, hey, pick me up, I'll come to Colorado. He literally tweeted at Deion, Colorado football. So now all of a sudden you have a multitude of 5 stars reaching out to you, and maybe Primetime has to think, well, I get it. These 4 stars look really good at Jackson State, but maybe I can get somebody a little bit better at Colorado. So I think it's a dynamic people aren't completely looking at either, is that, it is people chirping in his ear like Charles Kelly, like Willie Taggart, like you said, one of the best recruiters going, hey, I understand these 4 stars and these guys look great at Jackson State. Right. But we have access to the West Coast at modern day, to these guys. Now we have access to IMG. You know what I mean? To Thompson High School, to these places like that, to where maybe before you may pull one of those guys out of all of them, but now you may be able to pull a multitude from, all those locations.
Right.
So
you're saying under 25.
I'm saying definitely under 25, though.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to write this down, and I said it's over 25, and I can't wait to see how this thing works out, because it sounds like and hats off to, and I'm saying it. I'm saying this now from a coaching standpoint of watching how jobs are coming open and lack of. And Deion mentioned this. African American coaches getting these jobs that are opening up, and they're closing immediately because they're already filled. Because someone like you guys, like you mentioned, there was an envelope with some names of some candidates, and they already went with them. But hats off to the athletic administration and the president at Colorado. But they have a history of hiring African American coaches, so that's nothing to that's nothing to shy away from. If anything, commend them on that. Okay, but I got to give them some love on that. I can't say I can't shun that at all. Much love to them daring to. I would have loved to see Coach Prime come to Georgia Tech. I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see Coach Prime come back to Atlanta. I would have loved to see Coach Prime go to Auburn and be in the backyard with Nick Saban.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I would have loved, from a coaching standpoint, man, you got camp stuff, you got stuff going on that's going to be hot, on fire. So, and not to discredit the guys that have gotten those jobs, Brent Key and Hugh Freeze, but there's still jobs that are open, and there are no African American coaches taking them. So it's almost like, and I heard Deion mention something about maybe he can be a light to helping other schools just open or broaden their horizon on looking at African American coaches. And I don't know. I mean, it seems to me, and Craig, you know this because we watch Deion in his here in Atlanta, be Deion prime time. But as much flash as he has, there's some intellect and some inner thought behind him that he doesn't get credit for. I never forget, I got on the plane with Emmitt Smith one time. I went back up to Norfolk State for homecoming, and we were in Norfolk and headed to Atlanta, and Emmitt was on the plane, and I sat in first class with him, and I shook his hand. He had the biggest hands in the world. I'd never seen a person my height with hands that big, but we started talking. He initiated football talk once he found out I was a coach. And I'm going, man, Emmitt Smith is sitting next to me getting hyped about this football talk. And that, of course, allowed me to open the door and ask about how good is Deion Sanders. And he told me, if you knew, if you knew how much behind the scenes he studies film. Yes, he makes the plays, but he studies everything. He does not rely on athleticism. Fellas, that leads me to think Coach Prime has got a plan.
Yeah.
And that plan is going to go into effect. And who knows? 8 wins, maybe. Maybe not the first year, but 8 wins.
That's a success. That's a success. I think year 2, if you can get to 8 wins or even 7 wins, would I mean? And I get it. The expectations are going to be super high, but in my opinion, 7 wins in the second season at Colorado,
right,
with what went down there, and how
Right.
bad they've been. Come on.
Right. Well,
All right, so
enough of that. Let's go ahead. Go ahead.
let me ask you one question, because we live in the cradle of football, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we get to see it. You get to see the 90-something thousand at spring games and all that stuff. Have you ever seen a Colorado spring game on TV?
Me personally, no.
No.
You will this.
You're about to say you're about to.
You will this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'll be pretty good too.
They may be high, but it's gonna be going.
Hey, hey, that's touchdown right there.
Oh my god! But what I'm saying is mile high, right? That's what. Come on, guys.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He caught me leaning. I got hit on the duck under. Hey, Chad, he got me on that one.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what. I might have to catch a flight to go out there and watch this. I just want to see the show because Coach Prime is there, Bull is here. We probably need to meet at some point in time. Buffaloes and Bull Jones, we'll figure it out. All right, so I want to hit this real quick, but I don't want you to give me your prediction. I just want to know, because that'll be for another show. I know Jonathan or myself. I just want to know, do you think that the right 4 teams went into the playoffs? Craig, I'm going to start with you.
All right. Look, yes, I do. I even think they got them in the right order. And I know that you wanted Bama to get in there. And everybody in my house wanted Bama to get in there. I mean, I understand that. I do. But I couldn't see that, they took TCU out when they're playing in the 13th game and they lose in overtime. So I was okay with that. Ohio State, 1 loss. If Tennessee would have had 1 loss or Alabama would have had 1 loss, it would have been really easy to slide either one of them in when USC lost. My favorite thing about the whole process is I get to finally see a game I've been waiting on for 10 years. Georgia and Ohio State. And I mean, just from a fan perspective, I'm not a Georgia fan. I'm not an Ohio State fan, but the amount of talent that's going to be on that field, and you're going to get to see, some of the greatest players in college football going at each other in the semifinal game. I'm not going to give you a prediction because you asked me not to.
No predictions today.
I still think the 2 games are going to be great. And I know people are like, so-and-so is going to get blown off the field. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it'll be good football games, and I think everybody will be happy.
So you think that it was right for Alabama to not make it?
Yeah, because they lost twice, man.
You sound like my coworkers. Just two losses. Just it's 2 on the last play. Am I sounding too much like Nick Saban? Am I crying now?
I understand it. That's what makes college football great, because there's always somebody that thinks they deserve to be in.
Okay, I'll take that.
And in my opinion, like I told them, I told somebody, if Tennessee would have beaten South Carolina, but Hendon Hooker would have gotten hurt in that game,
right?
And Alabama and Tennessee would have finished both with 1 loss, they would have taken Alabama because the starting quarterback was hurt.
Yep.
Correct. That's true. You're right. I tell you, man. It's just tough to watch that go down, and I can't admit it right now. It's not in me to admit it right now, but I just don't think that. Well, go ahead. Go ahead, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
All right. Who's my favorite football team?
Alabama.
They don't deserve to be in. I'm sorry. Like Craig said, they got the correct team in. You can't punish a team for playing in the conference championship. And that's what it would have been if they would have replaced Alabama with TCU. I think we can agree on that to some extent. As much as that sucks to hear. Yeah, exactly. So I get it. They lost, but they lost to the conference. And not only that, but they beat that team previously in the season, right? Earlier in the season. So that did happen. Now, the Ohio State talk, I always say, at the end of the day, it comes down to what Nick Saban always says: execute all 4 quarters. Alabama executed all but 2 quarters at the end of 2 games. Ohio State didn't execute in 1 game. 2 losses is more than 1. So, if you want to use Saban's logic, Alabama doesn't deserve to be in.
He just Paul Johnson's this.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? He did. He just hit us with one, didn't he?
So yeah, the right teams did get in.
I was really hoping, Jonathan, that would really just have an epiphany and just the teams we played and when we played them and all the
No. You still got to execute.
I was hoping you would be on my side, Jonathan, and hey, Craig, we might have to kick him out the club for that. No, just kidding.
Runs the club. What are you talking about?
I know. We got to impeach him.
No.
We got to impeach him.
No, I just try to be unbiased with this stuff. You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
Well, okay. So, here's my reality before we go. And here's the deal. And man, my students, boy, they ragged me. My coworkers tore me up. When I tell you, I'm going to have to talk to Coach Saban because I took a chewing out this year. I took 2 of them, and then they have not let me live it down yet. And, because not many times can you really get Roll Tide fans because of the all of the success. But this was one time they tore me up. After the Tennessee game, I had my coworker, Coach Will, a JV baseball coach. He had Rocky Top playing, blasting as I walked into my office. And good old Rocky Top, that's what I heard. And the students was just giving me hell, man. And but I have to really come to the reality because there's reality and fan. Okay, here's a better way. The fan in me thinks Alabama should be there. The coach in me knows they should not be there. Now that's the truth. They shouldn't be there. I mean, okay, the boo-boo against Tennessee. Okay, not the boo-boo against LSU.
And there it is.
That's what I'm saying.
When they see me at the coaching clinic, if they get mad at me, they watch the show because I know some of the coaches watch it. So what? It's the truth, and they know. You don't get the second boo-boo. You get the first one. In Tennessee, 17 penalties and all the rest that came with it. Okay, that was the slipping on a banana peel. So with that being said, the coach in me definitely says they don't belong there. And that's just what it is. And, it's been proven in the past when Bama has lost or not made it, they come back the next year in a whirlwind and then they blitzkrieg everybody next year. Will that happen? I know this much for a fact. And this is a prelude to another conversation we have later. You talk about coaches. And I know on one of my shows, I talked about how Sarkisian took 4 on-the-field coaches, plus a special teams coordinator. So he hit him. He hit Coach Saban's staff pretty hard. And then Coach Huff, Charles Huff at Marshall University, took about 5 to 6 people that were not on field. So the brain trust, the workers that are the working behind the scenes in football operations and recruiting. He took some outstanding people. So wow. And so Coach Saban has taken some hits in his coaching staff. And that, fellas, leads me when everybody wants to talk about what the hell happened to Bama this year. Well, you figure out, Doug Maroney was your offensive line coach, and he had nursed you into the player that you are. And all of a sudden he leaves and another guy comes in and he ain't Doug Maroney. So you just got a new stepdaddy and it didn't work too good. And the only ones that are still on that staff that haven't gone anywhere are Holman Wiggins, who now has all these receivers leaving, and Pete Golden. Other than that, everybody's going to be – and now you got to replace T-Rob. This is his first year there, secondary. Now you got Coach Kelly, and T-Rob dealt with the cornerbacks, and Kelly dealt with the safeties. So now you got a new stepdad coming in. So you know, I'm going. The coach in me has to agree with you guys. It is what it is, and that's where I want to kind of leave things off, because we can come back later and talk about our scores and our predictions, our strengths, the weaknesses of who's playing who, and yeah, the fan in me wanted to find a reason why TCU shouldn't be there. And the crazy part about it, the fan in me was cheering TCU the whole season until it came down to them Alabama. Then all of a sudden, I hit the brakes. Oh, hell no, they shouldn't go. and so yeah, I'm with you guys, and I appreciate you guys. Jonathan, tell everybody where they can find you. You know, I know you're still a busy guy.
No, college football, Jonathan Lewis on YouTube, and at College FB Lewis on Twitter.
Coach Chat, the man, the myth, the legend.
At Coach_Chapman09 on Twitter. Pretty much the same thing on Instagram, although I'm never there. And probably at some desolate basketball court here, every day.
Oh, my gosh.
We are, I think we play 3 games over Christmas. So,
wow.
We play a lot. We play tomorrow, Saturday, Monday, Thursday, and then we go to break.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Well, I'm not going to rub it in. I just got off a cruise for my anniversary, so I'm not going to rub it in, but I did say it, sports fans.
Oh, man. You really got to do that?
Yeah, my wife spoiled me. I was on the cruise. Yeah, working on the tan. So, but hey, listen, you guys, get chat. Go ahead and get that hard work in right now, okay? Hey guys, I'm glad y'all have some time with me, and we could talk, and we'll get back together and we talk about breaking down. And I always love how Jonathan has all the stats of these stats and his stats and your stats in your brain. That's an amazing thing. I need to find a way to make some money off of that, because once again, Jonathan, Craig can remember what happened to us against Kell High School in the third quarter or whatever. I mean, I don't remember that, man, and he can remember stuff that. I don't remember. All I remember is Alvin Kamara, and I'm still in therapy over that.
Hey, I want to tell you this, Bull. Before we got on, the single A championship game was on, and Sam Crenshaw was talking about Bowden beat Schley County, and they was talking about Schley taking the what we called the Little Cup. And he was like, they're not happy to get it right now, but when they have a time to sit back and think about it, they'll think about how special it was. All I could think of when I was walking up here to put this thing on was, I'll take that little cup and throw that joker in the lake.
Well, if I see Alvin Kamara in the streets anywhere, I'm going to be like that commercial of that big football player that runs through and tackles people.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I got one good shoulder for that.
Offensive linebacker.
And I'm dog walking him when I finally hit him. Hey guys, it was a pleasure having y'all on and share some time with me. I appreciate you. As sports fans, we just wanted to get the butter from the duck tonight, talk some football, and glad to get back on the airs and talk to you all. And definitely, everybody has their viewpoints about Coach Prime, but at the end of the day, here on Coach One Sports, it is about the coaches, how we live, how we sleep, how we eat, how we make it, our transitions to any phase in life. And at the end of the day, we are still human. So if you enjoyed the show, make sure that you subscribe and make sure you comment. I do respond, and like and share. Once again, thank you so much for watching Coach One Sports with yours truly, Coach Kevin Bull Jones, and my friends Jonathan Lewis and Coach Craig Chapman. We'll see you later.